Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Find a Way podcast with Dusty. Hopefully you're doing well. I'm on a morning walk this morning, just doing as much activity as I can, and figured I'd check in with your journey. You know, coming back to the podcast means that there's got to be something else that we haven't talked about, that we should talk about. And I think the growing theme from what I'm noticing online is that so many people have so much information about, here's a great example. Yes, you can have zero sugar Coke or aspartame or sugar, carbs. There's just so much information that it's absolutely overwhelming. And how can you ever think of, am I doing it right, when everyone's got their own version of doing it right? And I know that if I was starting my journey in this chaotic time, it'd be more difficult for me, just because there was a clear, this isn't the way you should do things, and this is the way you should do things. Like when I started, it was pretty simple. Like you had to go on Atkins, or you had to be keto, there wasn't as much. I didn't hear as much about carnivore. I heard more about keto when I started my journey, and this is 8 years ago. So mind you, almost 10 years ago, but 8 years ago is when I started my journey, and it was low carb, high protein, mirror Atkins or keto, and you're going to be successful. And I remember so much about hearing about the keto flu, like, hey, have you experienced the keto flu yet? And there was some information out there, but social media has exploded in such a way that there are so many different viewpoints on what you should and shouldn't do that it's like, well, who do I listen to? And really the folks that relate with, or the folks that individuals find a commonality with. Maybe they're a similar age. It's tough for a guy to listen to a girl, or a girl to listen to a guy in regards to nutrition, because they don't understand. So they almost find some parallels to their journey with the individual that's speaking. Like, do you want to have a mommy makeover? Are you under 30 and want a mommy makeover? Like, say I share tips and tricks, I'm not going to really be able to be relatable as someone else that we see online. And probably the folks that we follow on social media, some of them mirror how we either want to look or want to do our journey. And I'm not shy of sharing tips, tricks, and information. I think the big thing that I go back to is, and I've been watching Survivor. So let me give you the parallel. I've been watching Survivor, and it's during my time at home. I'm recovering from skin surgery. And during my time, I've noticed that when these individuals get on this show, they've got one shot to do the game right. And they have to make the right moves. Because if they make the right moves, make the right partnerships, if they develop the right kind of interactions, then they're going to win $1 million. And it's one shot. And I've seen so many interviews, and I've looked at different people's journeys on Survivor, and it's like, man, if they just made this move, they would have been successful. And it's almost like when we start the journey, when we're on the journey, it's like if we don't do it right, then we're going to lose the big prize. And especially with so much information out there, that's where discouragement can come in. When we have our expectations set that if I don't do it this way, then I'm not going to be successful. And that's just a fallacy and something that I think would be really important to just put away with, and just encourage you that your journey, even as much of a parallel that you're trying to mirror somebody on social media, maybe see somebody, I want to do their journey, or I want to be on the journey that they're on, or I want to see results like them. You're not going to see the same results. You're not going to look like them. Everything's going to be different. You could be at a same starting weight as somebody, lose the same amount of weight. Oh, well, I lost the same amount of weight, but your body looks completely different. They could have more loose skin than you. You could have more loose skin than them. Everything is going to be completely different. So we have this expectation that, well, it's got to look like this, or it's got to be like this. And that's something that I would say probably 2 years into my journey, I really was mindful of or paying attention to. About 2 years in is like, okay, I'm sprinkling about 6 or 7 journeys into one here, and that's my journey and how I've gone about. I've seen other individuals that have been over 500 pounds, and their results are different than mine. Everybody's results are going to be different than the next person's. But the key thing about all the information that's out there is that someone says this is bad, someone says this is good. Well, what's good for you? So here's a great example. You've had bariatric surgery. You can't have carbonated drinks. It's like, okay, well, that's something that's recommended and that's something that should be avoided. Are folks who have had bariatric surgery drinking carbonation? I know I was. 5 years out, carbonation was, I had Zevia, which is a really good option. And they're like, you can't have carbonation. It's going to expand your stomach. By expanding your stomach, you're going to make it more of a room for more food. You're going to be hungrier. Well, for me, getting away from the sugary sodas, the sugary drinks was a big hurdle for me. Like, it was going to be tough just because I had a 2 liter of Pepsi, 3-4 times a day. You think about how much sugar that is, just in one tall bottle. I mean, I remember my order at Little Caesars would be a pepperoni pizza, the breadsticks, and a 2 liter. And I would go through all of it easily, very easily. So I knew that if I wanted to be consistent long term, I'm going to have to find some sort of alternative. Well, I got into water with some Crystal Light or some flavoring. I just have a very tough time getting water down. Well, I got all that and was enjoying it. It was good, but I needed that sparkle. I wanted that sparkle, but I didn't want to diminish my journey. Well, that's where you insert a lot of these zero sugar or alternative drinks like Zevia. And having that on my particular journey would be something that, hey, it expands the stomach. Okay, well, I'm 5 years out, and the journey that I'm on, I feel like I can be consistent on this journey, and I'm not just on some extreme diet, okay? Introduce it, no changes. Nothing happens negatively. Nothing results in me gaining the weight back. Because that, for me, even though 8 years ago, I started my journey with the bariatric journey, I have carbonation. It's advised against, but it's something that works for me and something that helps in regards to avoiding those higher sugary drinks that I used to go and mow through so easily before. So that works for me. If you don't make the right move in Survivor, you're going to lose the million. If you don't make the right move on your weight loss journey, it doesn't matter if you're still going and still progressing, you're learning. And I've talked about learning from mistakes, but embracing the trial and error mentality has been so pivotal for my success. That I'm going to try something, it's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to find out what does work, and I'm going to keep going. This weight loss, this maintenance, this keep off the weight isn't an event. It's not like this grand, no, it's just part of everyday life. Oh, that's got to be exhausting. I'm investing in my health and having a mentality of this is going to keep me around longer. I can play with my kids, go on roller coasters. I can do all these things that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't invest in my health and think about this. It's like, oh, well, that's got to be, that's a part of a lot of what I think about, but it's not everything that I think about. It's just as much of what I think about when it comes to work. When I talk about doing things with my kids, planning events, thinking about their upbringing, thinking about what they're learning, what they're seeing, teaching them and guiding them, balancing that with having a successful marriage, keeping communication, making sure that my wife feels loved. Like, these are all things that are a part of life. And I think I just feel like there's just this overwhelming, like, oh, I gotta think about what I eat, and I gotta think about this, like, in regards to health and wellness. And it's like, yeah, it's a part of life. Like, you've got to make that a part of your everyday thought process of what you're doing to take care of yourself, and you can't negate it, because you're going to end up setting yourself backwards, or you're going to end up setting yourself up for failure, because you're not caring about something that's as important as the other things in your life. And it's like, oh, well, it's not that, but it has to be that important, because it's going to keep you around longer. It's going to allow you to play with your kids, go on roller coasters, go to the beach, take your shirt off, going to the beach, or wearing that swimsuit that you want to wear. It's all a part of the journey. So, hope that encourages you on your journey. Thanks again for listening to this particular episode. If you have any topics you want me to dive into, I am open. On my morning walks, it is you, me, and the pavement in front of me. So, I will talk to you on the next episode. Take care.